Welcome to another Pixel Game Maker tutorial. If you're looking for an improved way to show text, JoeWithoutMe has got you covered. He has recently released his Action Text plugin, which allows for a more dynamic messaging system. In this video, we'll take a look at Joe's plugin and go over exactly what you need to know to get it up and running in your project. First things first, you can download his plugin for free at joewithoutme.itch.io, and I would highly recommend donating to him as he has been working on this plugin for a while now. At the very least, drop him a comment there to show him some appreciation. So let's get started. After you download and extract the zip file, you will find that he has provided everything you will need inside the folder. We have the source code, the PGM export, and the help file. I recommend referencing the help file often as it contains useful information about the plugin as well as examples for text tags. Now, the main file we need is the PGM export. This is because the plugin requires a specific object for it to work, so we need to import all of it. Let's go to our Objects tab. We'll right-click here and select Import Object. Once the object is imported, you'll see the object that is required for the plugin to work. Luckily, we don't need to do anything with it. We can just leave it alone. Now that it's imported, let's go to our Plugins tab. The PGM export included the JavaScript files, so it's already added onto the list. With Action Text selected, we can now set up the parameters. We want to leave the control object the same. Do not change this option. Show Debug Log lets you view the details inside the debug menu during playtest. I'll enable it to show you how this will look. Down here you can choose to clear unused data when it starts up. I'll leave mine disabled. Moving over to Preview on the right, we see we have a lot of options to go through. We will dig into these options in the runtime actions themselves. But before we do, let's check the help. Here, Joe specifies that details are in the helpenglish.txt. Okay, now we can begin using the plugin. In the Objects tab, select the state you want the action text to show in. I want my NPC object to show text on input and then remove after a certain amount of time passes. Click Add Runtime Action and select the Plugins tab. From here we have 7 plugin actions to choose from. Joe made clear with just the first word what each action will do. For instance, show will place the text on the screen or the debug log on the bottom option. Get will store various action text and certain settings inside variables. Destroy will remove text from the screen, and change will let you change some text settings that you originally set up. Since we want to simply show action text and then remove it, we will focus on show and destroy for now. I'll select show action text. Now let's dig into some of the settings. First off, we need to select the text resource to show. Note that you cannot customize the text resource from this action. It needs to be set up beforehand. I'll select the text I want to use. You can overwrite the default font here. I'll choose 6x10. We can also select the color using hex values. By simply typing the words hex color in a Google search, a color picker will pop up right away. I'll choose this color and copy paste the hex value in. Now we have enough settings to preview. But before we can start previewing, we need to first click OK so it's added to our state. We're off to a good start, but we need some positioning adjustments. Down here at Location Properties is where we can adjust the position. For now, let's adjust the Y value to -60 and have the horizontal position be center. This looks a lot better. We can also apply the text to the layer of the scene itself. I'll change it back to object. Before we go back to text properties, let's create a background. Down here you can add a border, a fill, or both. I'll select both. Next, I want to set the colors. I've already selected the colors I'd like to use, so I'll put them in now. The background and border look great, but it needs some padding against the text. Down here we can pad the background to the text. I'll give every direction a padding of 5 and see how that looks. While we're down here, let's check out the depends on text option. Pretty cool so far. I'll change it back to immediate for now. Here at the generate child object each character setting, you can set an object to generate and produce a text sound for each letter. This can also be used for things like screen shakes as well. Let's now go back to explore some of the text property settings. A very important option to understand is display speed. A value of -1 will immediately display the text. A value of 0 will stop the text entirely. And a value of 1 and greater will determine the speed. The higher the number, the slower the speed. I'll stick with 5 for now. You can always refer to the help box at the bottom if you forget how this setting works. Let's check out some display types. I'll choose Wave. See why I recommended a donation now? A lot of effort was put into this plugin. The coefficient below will change the values of these types. For instance, adding 20 to Wave will produce a more pronounced wave. You can also adjust the origin of characters similar to a Word document. I'll keep these default for now. And that's it for setting up the action text. Let's try it out on our playtest. By hitting F1 and showing the runtime log, you can see what the show debug parameter does. If it was disabled, we would only see one action here for when it was called. So this works great, but how do we remove the text? We need to add the destroy command. I'll do this in another state for now. I'll choose destroy the specified action text. While there's a lot of options here, a simple event like mine only needs to destroy the latest text. Okay, now let's check out the get commands. Here you can get specific action text information and store them in variables. Here you can get the number of action texts. These are more complex, but I will show one example. What I want to do is get the current text resource ID being used and store that in a variable. I will use a common variable to store that ID number in. The common variable shows 1 now, which is correct because that is my text resource number. So we can use that for a variety of checks, so don't forget that these options exist. Last thing to go over are the change options. This one will allow you to change the display speed, and this one allows to change the text opacity. Again, I'll show one example of using one of these options. I want to change the speed of the current action text. Since I want it to go slower, I'll put 15. Note, you can also use variables for values. It worked. The speed changed nicely. Note, if you are using text tags for speed changes, the tags will overwrite any change commands along the way. I've mentioned a lot about text tags throughout the video. Let's open up Joe's helpenglish.txt. We'll see text tag options with examples here. Note, some of these text tags are Joe's custom ones, and others are already official tags. To add the text tags, you will go into the text resource area. This is an example of how to change text speed. I recommend you to look around and get familiar with these text tags. I know this video couldn't cover every detail of the plugin, but this is definitely enough to get you started. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please like, subscribe so you can stay up to date on future tutorials. And as always, I will see you at the next video.